Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
This is Ethan Scott from the Spider Hole, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Radio Network, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Radio Network.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. As always, I bring you guys awesome interviews. Today, it's an honor and a privilege to have Ethan, vocalist of the Spider Hole, Phoenix, Arizona-based cinematic alternative rock band. The Spider Hole have released their new album with graphic novel To the Monsters out now. Also, the Spider Hole has released the official music video for the Leviathan Stomp, and the video was exclusively premiered on Dread Central. So we're going to be talking to Ethan about all this good stuff. So, Ethan, my man, how's it going?
Can't complain. As we were talking before we were recording, it is hot out here in the desert, and it might affect my brain a little bit, so my answers might be a little screwy. So hold on tight.
How's it been working with Tight Publicity so far for you guys?
We are of a mind, us and Tag. When we first started getting to know them, we said we want to work with them. We want to work more with them. We said, you do more than publicity. We want you to manage us. We want you to be our everything. They are so cool, so down to earth, just real people. They've got some huge clientele, very impressive roster of talent that they work with. And I hope to be part of their ongoing success. I'm very happy to be working with them. They did not pay me to say that.
What's impressed or excited you the most about making the new album To the Monsters, if anything? What's caught your eye about it, possibly?
I've always loved Halloween and monsters and horror movies, and it's always kind of seeped into the work. The previous albums, this is the first time it's been absolutely concentrated, where the whole album is devoted to our love of all things horror and Halloween, and the graphic novel also all about monsters and scary stories. And it's sort of like a distillation of who I am, and especially how I grew up and really grew up on the monster movies and stuff. So very exciting to have that all boiled down into a package and put out into the world like that.
What made you guys want to throw in a graphic novel on this album?
Ever since the beginning of the band, I've wanted to do adventures of the Spider Hole in comic book form. I'm a big comic book geek. I've been writing and illustrating since I was a little kid. I loved the movie Creepshow so much that I made a Creepshow 2 comic book before there was a Creepshow 2. Like, I was a little boy, and I'm drawing Creepshow stories.
That's cool.
Thanks. In fact, I was talking to my wife, saying I really wish I still had that. I'm sure it got lost in the multiple moves since I was little, but I would love to see that again. If I could cut off a limb and get something back out of my past, it would be that old Creepshow comic book. But getting off track, sorry. I just always wanted to do a comic book about the band's adventures. We started doing the Spider Hole Saves Christmas like a decade ago, and it never quite got finished. There's been a lot of false starts, and it just seemed perfect to have our monster album have an accompanying anthology horror graphic novel, and finally getting it out is really satisfying.
No, man, that's cool if you want to talk about horror stuff, because I'm a huge horror fan myself. Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween series is my favorite, and I like the old school stuff for like B films too, like Redneck Zombies. You cannot beat, the cheesier the better, I say.
Yeah.
Heredity. I want to see
Hereditary.
that. Hereditary. I want to see that movie. Heredity, I should say. But I want to watch that movie, but I just haven't brought myself to sit down and watch any new ones other than the new Halloween that came out. I don't know. I still love horror movies, don't get me wrong, but they've just
it's hard to get into some of the newer ones because there's such a glut of them, and the quality really varies. But
yes.
I'll tell you mentioned Hereditary, and that is one of the finest of the last decade. It is spectacularly done. Highly recommend that.
And I hate when people do reviews. Fuck that. Just go watch the damn thing. Don't let me. Just go watch it. Well, you got two. Everybody don't like it. Well, that's not to say you're not going to like it. Just go watch it.
Yeah.
Was it hard to choose between the current set of songs on this album? Which one would be the first single or video that you guys wanted to push on it first? Was it hard, man, or no?
Our first actual single that we put out was The Skeleton Wedding. And the reason, and that we didn't do a video for that one, but it was the first song to be released. And the reason was because it kind of, it was familiar in that it sounded like older Spider-Hole stuff for fans that have been with us for a while. And it also still had that edge and the monster thing going on to kind of push you into the next generation, this new album. And but the reason why we chose Leviathan Stomp as our first video, we actually had a concept for a video for A Skeleton Wedding, but we just couldn't afford the budget for it yet. Like, we still plan to get that out, but Leviathan Stomp was such a chaotic, crazy song and such a heavy, fast thing going on that we could really, for the video, just kind of kitchen sink it. We just throw everything in. We've got some maps, so we've got use of this stairway, we've got use of this, and just put everything in that we had with kind of like a zero budget. And we knew we could do that with that song, so that's why that's our first video off of the album.
Any songs standing out more to you than any right now on the album? I know it must change every time you listen to it. I know you're close to these songs, but do you have any that stand out for you personally?
Hungover at the Eel God Festival, for me, is probably the most special song on that album. It was the first title that I came up with that I was like, this is the essence for me of this album. It's creepy and it's dark and it's very strange, very real, has a very Lovecraftian sort of aesthetic to it. And it was also the hardest song to write. We worked on that, hacked away at it for almost 2 years, just not quite getting it right. And then when it finally broke, it was like, oh yes, this is it. This is such a deep song with a strange story. That one stands out for me, and the guitar solo in that, even though it's not my guitarist's favorite off of the album, his favorite is the Werewolf Biker Bastard song. He loves that solo. I love it too. But the one he pulls off in Eel God is transcendent.
So the official music video for the Leviathan Stomp was directed by Johnny Wilkerson. Let's talk about working with him on this. How was it?
Johnny's great. Johnny was a friend of our drummer, going back to some of his earlier bands, and he's shot commercial work, and he shot some stuff for music videos and live, covering bands live on stage. This is his first full-length music video, and he really went all out. He prepped for this for several months, gathering lighting and camera equipment, and really wanted to make his mark with it. And he was great to collaborate with. His ideas were spot on, and his openness to new ideas was fantastic. He did not rule with an iron fist at all. He's a very collaborative environment, and really wanted to go for the crazy along with us. There was nothing too nuts that we could suggest that he was like, no, we can do that. We can figure out how to get that done. And so it was great working with Johnny. Very, very laid back dude.
How full on horror did you want to go on this album, and plus your music videos, man?
Well, for the music video, not as far as some of the other songs. We just didn't have the budget for gore and what have you. So we went for more creepy and implying disease and implying chaos. But as far as the album, every aspect of horror we wanted to cover, from the cheesy 80s to the Eel God, like I said, the Lovecraftian. I wish I had a track list here. I can't remember what the songs were that we did. I even cover the horror of anxiety disorder on the song Rock Your Body, and just kind of being frozen in horror and not being able to move and terror. Really wanted to get into all shapes and sizes of horror on the album. I really think we touched a lot of bases. One thing we left out was vampires. Sorry, we don't have vampires. We got werewolves, we got zombies, we got all sorts of monsters. Did try to start writing a vampire song, and it never quite came together, and the deadline was approaching for the album, so we ended up doing the Night of the Nighty Night Slasher instead, and that actually ended up being gangbusters. So kind of glad the vampire song didn't work out, but there is a half-done Spider-Hole vampire song floating around out there that may never get heard.
Now, did you guys self-produce this album, or who actually produced it?
We co-produced it with Jeffrey Robins Jr. He is a local engineer and producer who we know from live sound engineering, playing around the Valley. We run into him a lot. And he's produced. We heard a couple of the songs and albums from other bands that he produced, and we were really impressed. And we said we want to work with him for our next album. He's got a great background in programming and synths and electronics, and we wanted to kind of bring more of that into this album as opposed to what was on our previous releases. And he definitely had a voice in how this album sounds.
Who did the cover art for the album?
That's me.
Okay.
That's one of my businesses. I do Ethan Scott album art is my album art business. I do illustration and graphic design. Been doing it for years, and I love working with local bands and just getting the right face for their music onto the album cover. So I've done all three of our album covers since we started.
What do you hope everyone takes away from this album, or message you hope they hear while listening to it, or just any of the Spider Hose music in general, Ethan?
I hope people walk away from the album humming something. I want the music to have this hummable backbone, even though the songs are strange and even though they might go in unpredictable directions. I always want there to be something that sticks, whether it be a line from a song or a melody. We work hard on making the music, even though it's very different from song to song. At least we hope. We want it to be accessible and listenable and fun.
I want to touch on this just a little bit. I want to go back and talk about the whole concept of the horror thing here, because a lot of folks used to shun away from this, and now it's like people eat it up. It's like, yeah. And I think that's cool that there's a lot of horror punk bands, and now there's bands like you guys are doing horror stuff. Do you think it's kind of took off even more now, or you kind of think it's kind of hit that plateau?
Oh, no, I think it's taken off more for sure, and I'm glad for it. There was kind of a glut. Not a glut. Glut's the wrong word. I think glut means that there's a lot of it. So a drought of horror after the late 90s and the early 2000s, where it just wasn't as popular and the stuff coming out was kind of dry. Yeah, I think now you're getting some really cool, fresh ideas, and I'm glad that there's music also. Yeah, like you said, horror punk and horror rock bands try to kind of capture that sound, but I don't know if we really succeeded. Getting kind of that rockabilly horror punk thing in some of the tunes. So we end up just kind of doing our own thing and hoping that the theme of the album carries through the horror, if not so much the music itself being creepy and terrifying. Yeah, I think that that horror is taking off, and there's some really, really cool stuff right now.
Do you see this band still musically growing from where it started, or has it just been more of a personal growth for each of you guys involved in the Spider Hole?
The band has definitely grown. We take a lot more risks, and we study a lot more, greater variety of music than we did when we were younger. And we started the band, the bass player Xerxes, when we were teenagers. And just as we get older and we know how to take better risks, and it doesn't take us as long to find the right answer, to unlock like, oh yeah, now that's a brilliant piece of a brilliant change right there, or that's a brilliant chord to go to. It's not as hard to find those. We don't go through 30 or 40 before we strike the right one. It's more intuitive now. Yeah, we definitely have grown individually and as a whole.
What can fans expect at a show from the Spider Hole who have not got to see you guys live as of yet? What are they going to get?
They're going to get a very sincere performance. I mean, occasionally we'll blow our budget and do a spectacle show with lots of props and additional actors and performers. And those are few and far between when we get real gimmicky like that. So for the most part, catch us on tour or, opening for a major headliner out here in Phoenix. You're just going to get a very sincere performance with, you're going to see that we like each other up on stage. Everybody in the band, we're best friends. We love what we do. We love being around each other. You're definitely going to see that from the audience. And hopefully you'll see our years of practice coming through and professionalism coming through.
What made you want to become a musician, Ethan? What was that spark for you that said, yeah, that's what I want to do right there?
That's a really good question. I think it might have started with watching the Monkees. When I was a little boy, I loved the Monkees. And I did a talent show where me and some friends lip-synced the Monkees songs. And there was a fight between me and one of my friends because I wanted to be the front man. Like, no, I want to be the one that really sells this, that really performs this. I want to be the singer on this tune. I got to be the front man. and I guess it kind of stayed with me. I love performing. I love putting on the face of the music and being that. I think that might be where it started, and it just kind of grew from there. It's not that I like to be the center of attention. I just like to be responsible for delivering the message the right way.
So we know the Misfits are out doing their last reunion tours and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you see anybody out there right now carrying the torch kind of for horror music, some of the national horror bands?
Oh boy, other than those guys, I mean, Doyle, obviously, from the Misfits.
Sure.
Is killing it. And I can think of, we got a Tucson band out here that they got some national notoriety. They're the Mission Creeps, and they're friends of ours. And in fact, they were gracious enough to lend us their likenesses as the host of the graphic novel, like sort of Rod Serling, Crypt Keeper style in the graphic novel. And they're doing a great job. I know there's a bunch more. The Necromantics are doing awesome. There's Calabrese, which oddly enough are also out of Phoenix, Arizona, but they are nationally known. You know Calabrese? Yeah.
Yes.
I go way back with those guys. I used to work at Blockbuster 15 years ago, and Bobby was my customer there.
All good guys, man. All good guys in Calabrese for sure.
Cool. There's the others.
I see a lot of the horror punk coming up and being the torch for horror music. Not disrespect any other bands out there like you guys are doing for sure. But it seems like they eat, breathe, and sleep it. They're out on tour with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like they cannot get, and they live it, Ethan. You know what I'm saying? It's like they were.
Yeah, we're definitely not a horror band. We're a rock band. This is our horror album. This is our ode. And while it's always present in what we do, some of the horror elements, the sci-fi, the goth, the darkness, we're not like, and sometimes I wish we were as balls to the wall as some of these guys. Like there is definitely a nostalgia and a sweetness to that, like the skull paint every time you go out, and like that's really cool. I'm so glad that's in the world. It's not as me. You know, it's not all I've got.
Right. I understand completely.
Yeah. But yeah, I love that stuff.
Is there a country that stands out or shocks you that the Spider Hole gets support from, or your music even gets played in that area? Have you seen anything possibly it's kind of caught you off guard a little bit, or shocked you?
Yes. Well, I mean, it shocks me when anybody likes us. To be honest with you, I'm like, whoa, cool, thank you so much. That's amazing. We have some really hardcore fans in Germany. I really wish we could get out there to play, because I think from what it sounds like, we'd go over really well. I've got these German fans who have even gone so far as to like take some of our artwork and recreate it on their own as like back patches and stuff. And they send us pictures and ask our blessing and everything, and it's really, really cool.
Is there a band on the bucket list that you would like to tour with, or maybe even do an old school album split with, possibly?
Goodness, you know, probably Tom Waits would be my dream come true if we could collaborate with anybody. That goes back to boyhood too. My dad was a big Tom Waits fan, and it's always been in my life. Love them, love The Cure, and Depeche Mode. Hard to say, but I think if I could just pick just one for bucket list, it would be Tom Waits, and I think at least half of the rest of the band would agree.
Folks, you want to get out and pick up the Spider Hole's new album, To the Monsters, which is out now. Also, they have a graphic novel tied to this, so you want to get out and pick up that as well. So, Ethan, my man, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy some merchandise, tour dates, things like that? How can they do that?
You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/thespiderhole. Also on Twitter and Instagram, but I'm an older guy. I don't keep up as well as I should on Twitter and Instagram. I'm much more active on Facebook, but I aim to rectify that. I aim to get just as many updates on our Twitter and our Instagram as we have on Facebook. Our merchandise is available through our Bandcamp site, which is thespiderhole.bandcamp.com. You can get physical copies of the CD. You can download all of our back catalog, and you can also order the graphic novel on there.
Before I let you go, good sir, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Absolutely. This is Ethan Scott from the Spider Hole, and you are listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We've got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and BODS Mayhem Radio Network. Please get out and check out our Facebook page. It has our podcast link, YouTube link, and soon our Twitch link. Also, get out and check out the Spider Hole and pick up their new album, To the Monsters, and their graphic novel as well. You will not be disappointed. Ethan, I wish you guys the best of luck and keep doing what you guys are doing, my man.
Thank you so much, John.
You're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.